So sitting tall at the beginning of our class, I welcome you all. And just the starting and the slowing down of our practice, the slowness before the movement. Lift your shoulders up to your ears so you have that continual growing and lifting and lengthening of your body. And keep lifting of your shoulders and keep your body long and softly, slowly lower your shoulders down. And then as you're sitting tall, slightly tuck your chin back to ensure you've got that equal lengthening of the front and the back of your neck. And ensuring that your head is balanced or directly above your heart above your hips, and your sitting bones onto your mat. On your next in-breath, lift your arms up to the sky, and keep them up to the sky. Walk your fingers up, so lifting shoulder by shoulder, lengthening both sides of the torso. Palms together, and slowly slide down to heart center. Keeping of your palms together, all four sides of your palms, all 10 pads of your fingers. And enjoy the union. And as we sit still, the still waters of a lake reflect the beauty around. When the mind is still, the beauty of the self is seen reflected within. Reminding the caring of your body and the opportunity. And softly place your hands down on towards your thighs, but keep your eyes softly closed. With your hands resting onto your thighs, take your left ear to your left shoulder, ensuring that your collarbones stay horizontal. As opposed to dropping of your head, slow lowering. Soft turning of your chin towards the pit of your arm. And then very gently sweeping of your chin towards the center, towards your chest bone, and just holding your chin towards your chest bone. And so as your chin is down, ensure your shoulder blades are also descending, but all four sides of your waist is lifting up. And then gently lifting of your chin up so that your jawbones are horizontal. And we'll change sides. So softly, your right ear to your right shoulder. Make sure your left shoulder doesn't lift up. And then again, the slow movement. And turning of your chin towards your armpit to allow that lengthening, not just the side of your neck, but wrapping around the muscles that go right to the back of your skull. And drawing of your chin until it is directly above your chest bone. And then a slow lifting of your head up. And then start to roll your shoulders a few times. I'll get you to uncross your legs and keeping of your feet a little bit wider apart, wrap your hands around your shins. I want your head just to hang. And as your head hangs, give it a little shake. And just that slow shaking of your head gives a little bit of awareness of the length of your upper back. Even tucking your chin in a little bit more. And then bring yourselves back to sitting tall. And as you know, cross opposite shin in front of the other. A little bit of the movement. So get you to place your left fingers down and your right fingers onto your right shoulder. Now keeping both sides of your torso long, just lift your elbow up. So you're giving that lovely lengthening. Now your left fingertips are down. Walk them over towards the left, eventually placing your palm down. So as you press your left palm down, I want you to direct your ribs over towards the right. And you can keep your fingers onto your shoulder, perhaps onto the crown of your head, or maybe extending out. Now in doing so, slightly tucking your shoulder blades together and see if you can breathe into the right side of your torso. Yeah. Next in-breath, bring yourselves back up, lowering of your arms down and rolling of your shoulders. And we'll change sides. So this time, plant your right fingertips down. So as your right fingertips are down, it allows you to sit even taller. Left fingers onto your left shoulder, and then the lifting of your elbow. So the more you lift your elbow, more length you give, elongation of the side of your body, and then your fingers tiptoe away, and placing all four sides of your palms down, pressing down and away, and then fingers onto your shoulder, head, or extending to the side. Just whichever feels right for your shoulder. Just make sure, of course, your left sitting bone stays down. And then as you draw your next breath in, bring yourselves back to sitting tall. And just roll your shoulders a few times. So we're going to take ourselves from here into child's pose. So ensure that you have your firm blocks at the front of the mat. And take your toes together. Your knees just far enough apart that the side of your ribs can rest onto your inner thighs. And I want you for the first time to either have your head onto a firm block or one fist on top of the other. And then as you know, you can have your sitting bones towards your heels or giving a little bit of space. And just enjoy the support of underneath your head. And in doing so, with your in-breath, direct your breath into the back of your lungs, the back of your body, so you've got more space between your shoulder blades and your spine. Just the initial opening of the whole back surface of your body. Eyes are closed. And your breath is smooth. Now place your hands down and shift yourselves forward into table pose. Now in table pose, make sure you've got all four sides of your palms down and your shoulders above your wrists, okay, just as your knees are below your hips. So with the initial warming up of the spine, instead of up and down, I want you to move forward and back. So with your in-breath, slide your body forward. And then on your exhale, take your sitting bones back, but keeping your spine horizontal. Just this movement. So in-breath, gliding forward. And exhale, sailing back. And one more lovely lengthening, crown of your head forward, right past the front of your mat. And then your sitting bones back. directed past the back of your mat. And then shift yourselves back into table pose. Now in table pose, I want you to take the back of your hands and place them onto the mat with your fingers pointing together. So it'll be into this shape, if you can see that. So your fingers are pointing together. And I just want you to sway your hips side to side. Just giving a little bit of stretching of the back of the wrists. And see if you can even keep all 10 of your fingernails down. And then we'll turn the palms back down and take ourselves into cat and cow as we're used to. Okay, so first take yourselves to the neutral, verticalness of the arms, verticalness of the thighs. And with your in-breath, softly lower your torso, your belly button down, and your chin up. Of course, the exhale this time is your belly button towards your spine towards the sky, your head to hang. And as you know, the traveling of your breath with the movement of your body, but really slowly. And ensure, of course, that there's no compression or overextension. This is the time, your eyes closed, listening to your body. Now with the patterns of your breath, on your next exhale, once you've released complete breath, bring yourselves back to neutral. Okay. And take yourselves with the stillness. So I want you to dominantly press down on all 5 of your toenails on your left foot and extend your right leg back. Now, of course, as it's horizontal, look down to ensure your toes are pointed down, just to ensure you've got that neutralness across the back of your hips. And of course, find the focal spot and slowly extend your opposite arm forward. So with your arm extended forward, flare your fingers out, just to ensure that you've got that power through your arm and then that same energy through your leg. Now, see if you can take the slowness of your breath and perhaps closing of your eyes, and see if your breath can be smooth and slow. Stillness, attention. Now place your hand down, keep your leg extended back, and place the ball of your foot onto the back of your mat to stretch your calf. Okay, so you can take your hands a little farther forward so there's less of that angle on your outer wrist, and really extend whatever adjustments need be. From here, I want you to lift yourselves up into downward facing dog. So lift your sitting bones up, untuck your toes, and just go for a very slow walk. Have a little peek forward to make sure you've got that equal space between each of your fingers. Your arms are long and strong, direct line to the back of your hips. Hips are high, slowly lowering one heel down at a time. And then I'll get you to lower both of your knees down and untuck your toes. Walk your hands back to your knees and just move your wrists a few times. Just taking that weight off. And then place your hands down so we can change sides. So first your nose directly down to your mat to have that focal spot. And this time opposite leg extends back. Hips are neutral. Encouraging the front of your body to be as long as the back. And then slowly reaching of your arm forward. So your arm is extended forward. Your ear will be near your upper inner arm. Fingers flared out. See if you can even flare your toes apart to keep that energy. And as you know, the option, keeping of your eyes gazing onto a spot or perhaps closing. Taking your attention just within. Power and balance. softly lower your hand down, keeping your left leg long, place the ball of your foot, and the initial extending. So your heel almost off the back of the mat, even the ball of your foot is on. Your hands pressing away as if you can strengthen and extend the length of your mat. And then let's all travel back into downward facing dog. Now, in downward facing dog, I want you to slowly lower your left heel down to keep your right heel up and just hold the extension. So slowly giving a bit more lengthening, encouraging of your heel closer towards the mat. And then let's change sides. So lift your left heel up and lower your right towards the mat. Now lift both of your heels up. See if you can go right onto your tippy toes. And as you're doing so, encourage your torso towards your thighs and the back of your legs away, and then slowly lower your heels down. Now they might not reach to the mat, just a little bit more extension. And then just soften your knees a little bit so you can walk your hands back towards your feet. So you'll be folded forward at the back of the mat and hold on to opposite elbows. Now just carrying through your lower back. If there's any strain of your lower back, place your forearms onto just above your knees and just allow that hanging. So just really care for the lower part of your spine. Give your head a little shake, or your forearms can be hanging down. Just whichever feels more ease of that lengthening, putting that space between each of your vertebrae. And place your hands onto your hips. Now keep your feet rooted, your spine long, and hinge to standing upright. Arms down. Give yourselves a little shake. So look down towards your feet, sort of to ensure that they're hip distance apart. And I want you to flare your toes apart, so as far apart as you can, and planting down all 10 pads of your toes. And then the closing of your eyes to take into Tadasana, mountain pose. And just notice the connection with the whole sole of your feet onto your mat. See if you can have your eyes closed. And as you're standing tall, invite your shoulders up to your ears, slightly drawing your belly in to give the strength. And then the only movements is your shoulder blades sliding down and ensuring you have equal length of all 4 sides of your neck. This time your fingers are relaxed. There's a softness on the palms of your hands. On your next in-breath, lift your arms up to the sky. Bring your palms together and down to heart center. And then your arms down by your side. So I want you to look towards your feet, and on your left foot, flare your toes as far apart as you can. And in doing so, you can feel all 4 sides of your foot rooted down. And then take your arms out to about 45-degree angle, maybe 30-degree angle. And I want you to go onto your right tippy toes. And then I want you, looking down onto your mat, I want your right foot to just hover. Actually, if you want, look right down towards your ankle. And you'll see there's all of that movement. And see if with the softness of your knee, you can be aware of all 4 sides of your foot and to bring it with that stillness. And then we'll change sides. So this time, flaring your right toes apart, you're having that connection, all 4 sides, and actually just take your foot and allow it to hover. And you'll notice there's that consistent movements of your ankles, and see if you press all 4 sides of your foot down, it slows the movement of your ankle. And more balance. Okay, put your foot down. In-breath, sweep your arms up high. And exhale, softly fly down. All the way down to the mat, and I want you to walk your hands forward to bring yourselves into a plank pose. Now, plank pose option is you can have your knees down or up, whichever way your torso is long. Okay, your fingers are flared. Look back towards your feet to see that they're hip distance apart. And as we're into plank pose, awkwardly you're sort of feeling the movement and strength through your arms, but I want you to fire your legs up the same way to ensure you've got that stillness. Knees down or up, shift yourselves forward, and slowly lower yourselves down to the mat. And then as you're onto the mat, place your head down and untuck your toes. And see if you can have all 10 of your toenails down. Now as you're doing so, again, fire up your thighs so your knees will be almost hovering off the mat, even though that whole top surface of your feet are pressing down. And then interweave your fingers behind your back. Okay, so your legs are fired up. Slide your knuckles back towards your heels and your head just to hover. So you've got that, your heart will be off the mat. This is your knees. And then softly lower down. And slide your palms by the side of your lower floating ribs. Hug your elbows in. Legs are charged up. And on your in-breath, press your hands down to shift your weight forward and lifting yourselves up for a baby cobra, or which height that you choose. And then slowly melt down. So before we come up, shoulder blades together and back. As you press your hands down, lift yourselves up for baby cobra. Choose how high you lift. Whichever height you lift, your legs are fired up. And then gently lower down. Travel yourselves back into child's pose. So again, straightening of your arms, shifting your sitting bones back, arms forward. But as we're into child's pose, I want you to go into your fingertips, like you've got those grapefruit underneath the palms of your hands, and walk them over towards the left. And then as it's over towards the left, you go no further, then place your palms down and just nicely stack your right hand on top of your left. Just ensure you've still got that equal connection of your sitting bones towards your heels. Make sure that your right sitting bone isn't floating. So it's often the side, it's not necessarily right to the direct side of the mat. It's more sort of towards the front left corner, maybe a little bit farther. Pop yourselves back up onto your fingertips, which is spider fingers, and stroll them back onto the mat. And this time over towards the right. And as soon as your left sitting bone starts to lift, go no further. Just press down again, all four sides of your palm and your left hand on top. So as you're pressing, the direction of your right hand down and away. And in doing that, it steers your left sitting bone towards your heel, or whichever height that you're lifted up. Onto fingertips. And walk yourselves back to the center of the mat. We'll go back into downward facing dog. So first shift yourselves forward to be in table pose. And then tuck your toes under. Now sitting bones back towards your heels, so you're giving that length through your torso, and then taking your sitting bones back and up as your heels down towards the mat, eyes closed. Give your head a little shake. And ensure that you've got equal weight on the surface of both of your palms and how close your heels are to the mat. So not forcing them, just allowing that ease through the back of your legs. As if your tailbone, even the descending from your hips down the back of your legs towards your heels, a little bit maybe closer towards the mat. And have a little peek forward and slowly walk your feet, now this time forward towards the front of the mat. And as you know, at the front of the mat, hold on to your opposite elbow and before, and either swinging or forearms resting onto your
lower thighs. Just make sure this is a pose of release without feeling discomfort in the direction of your spine, especially the lumbar part of your spine. Place your hands now onto your thighs. And press your thighs down to bring yourselves into standing upright. A little bit of movements of your shoulders. And then walk your feet together. So now the inner edges of your feet are together. And your palms are directed towards the front, shoulders down, eyes closed. So again, there's that movement. Feel the movement through your ankles. See if you can just have a soft connection of your ankles, but that circle is almost like you have a pencil and you're drawing a circle around the outer edges of your feet, having the equal weight of the pencil down. So it's an equal drawing of the line and the connection to the surface. And then softly open your eyes. So take your feet back so that they're hip distance apart, and perhaps take your arms a little bit more out towards the side. Look down to find a focal spot and flare your left toes apart. I'm going to softly lift your right knee up so it just hovers, and perhaps lifting it up halfway, and just taking yourselves back to the stillness of your ankle with the balance. So just remember, all four sides of your foot is rooting down. Your knee is above your heel, and then there's that flaring out forward to all four sides of your foot. And then lower your arms and lower your knee. Give a little shake, shake. And we'll change sides. So the importance of balance, just bringing that stillness. Okay, gaze down, arms out, whichever height. And then just a hovering of the foot. So you can bring the stillness or more stillness through your ankle, and then lifting of your left leg up. So you got your thighs activated, of course, but without your knee locked straight. And then lower your knee down and shake both of your feet out. Now, softly bend your knees and take your arms forward. So we're just into chair pose. Now in doing so, take your weight a little farther back and lift your toes up. And then shift your weight forward so it's mainly onto the balls of your feet, and lift your heels up. See if you can keep that stillness of your feet, stillness of your ankles with power through your legs. Lower your heels down, straighten your legs, lift your arms up high, and then softly swan dive down. We'll do 3 half lifts. So hands onto your thighs or your shins. And your in-breath, lift up halfway. So your spine is horizontal and long. And then slowly melt down. And still the power through the legs, but just the softness and relaxing of your torso. And again, palms onto your legs, whichever height. As you lift up halfway, shoulders, blades back. And then a complete softness and ease as your head hangs. You can give it a little shake. Let's do it one more time. Hands to legs, extension lengthening, horizontal, and then softly down. Place your hands onto your mat. Actually, if you have firm blocks, place your hands on your firm blocks and step your right foot right to the back of the mat, as far back as you can. And then lower your back knee down. And then untuck your back toes. Now in doing so, you can take the firm blocks to its highest level. We're going to go into dragon. So shift your knee forward so it's past your ankle. Normally we don't go that far forward, but I want your hands on the firm blocks, whichever height, to give you that support. So taking any pressure away through the front. It's almost as you direct your front knee forward, your back leg will almost drag with a little bit more lengthening. Your arms are straight and long and giving you the support, and your head can hang. giving a little bit more elasticity of your right hip flexor. Just make sure you don't take it too far. So you're giving yourselves that opening, but not to the point that your breath shortens. Just allow it to nicely smooth out as you're softly ironing your hip flexor. I want you now to travel backwards, to take yourselves into reverse. So as your hands on your blocks, whichever height, slowly straightening of your front leg, peeling the sole of your foot out, and your head to hang. So the top of your left thigh bone, ensure that it stays plugged into your hip socket. And as the top of your thigh bone is back, crown of your head is forward. So opposed to your nose towards your knee, I want more of that extension and lengthening. It's sort of a mirror of your spine is long, as well as the straightness of your front leg. And those slow breaths. Maybe noticing that they are fairly tight, or that this morning it's a little bit more ease and you can extend a little bit more of the crown of your head forward. Bend your front knee now, and ensure now that your knee is not past your ankle, you've got that verticalness. And place your hands on your knee to bring yourselves up. So you're still having that lengthening of your right hip flexor, and bring your palms together. So again, you've got that surface of your palms together, maybe a little bit of pressure at the pads of your fingers, and lifting of your heart. Still keep your palms together. So just as you're directing your inner thighs together for that balance, lovely lifting. Place your hands back down onto your firm blocks, and just as we did before, straighten your front leg. Now with your hands on the firm blocks, whichever height they are, take them over towards the left. So you're giving yourselves a little bit of a twist. But even as you're doing so, make sure your toes are being drawn back towards your shins. And I want you to see if you can balance equal weight onto both hands, just to ensure the left side of your body doesn't collapse. And we're going to unwind. And as we did before, bend your front knee and tuck your back toes under. Place your hands onto your knee and press your knee down to give yourselves that space. And this time, sweep your arms up to the sky. Now there's two options. You can keep your right knee down or maybe lifting it up. So this is a pose of lengthening. There's always a challenge. Now as you're doing so, see if you can have that equal weight, even if you've lifted up or not, on all four sides of your front leg. And that whole broadness across the ball of your back foot. A little bit more lengthening. Now, your breath. Slowness of your in-breath and completeness of your out-breath. Place your hands back down onto your firm blocks and lower your back knee down and untuck your toes. So we're going to go into lizard. So take your foot to the outer edge of the mat and your hands directly below your shoulders. From here, direct your knee out and perhaps the sole of your foot is lifted up or not. Really care for that external rotation. And close your eyes. Choose the height. Your hands can be onto the firm blocks at its highest level, lower level. Perhaps your forearms settle down onto the firm blocks. So blending together of the right hip flexor, which we've already smoothed out. This is the opportunity of the opening of your left hip. But using the support underneath your hands or your forearms. So you can allow that ease through, again, that connection to the top of your thigh bone into your hip socket. And with your exhales, I want them to be through a sigh.
And so that side just allows that tightness. It's quite deep into this pose. So just make sure that there's no gripping, a sense of protecting, and don't go that far. Come a little bit higher up. We're going to come out. So what I want you to do with this one, come up, and I want you to pivot so that your left toes are sort of towards the outer edge of the mat, and tuck your back toes under to pick your knee up. So you can have your hands on the firm blocks at its highest level or lower. And I want that little bit of that movement to step your right foot forward to the mat. So your toes will be out, right to left, and I want you to sway. So sort of your feet are in that V position, and just sway side to side. And then walk your feet back in so that they're hip distance apart. And we'll just change sides. So slowly just step your left foot right to the back of the mat. So you're giving yourselves that length, and then lowering your knee down and untucking of your toes. And we're going to go into dragon pose as we've done before. So shift your knee forward. So you're smoothing out your hip flexor, hands onto the firm block, and giving yourselves that length. And so, of course, you're smoothing out your left hip flexor. How does your right one feel? You can tell that it's already been opened. So ensure that you have the ease of your extended left hip flexor, but the softness through your right thigh. So you've got the support of those firm blocks to give you that ease. Smooth and then lengthening. Each time we do this, extending and lengthening of our legs, we'll be able to stand taller. And as you know, the firm blocks, whichever height. As your knees past your ankle, you've got that support. Just make sure your front heel stays down. And then let's take into reverse. So slowly, just smoothly extend your front leg. Again, firm blocks, whichever height. Directing of your toes up towards the sky. And as your toes are towards the sky, the crown of your head past, or at least that direction. And so your extended right leg is long. And just make sure that your knee doesn't hyperextend. I didn't say that before. There can even be a little soft bending of your knee, just to make sure that there's no strain. You're allowing that more smoothing and extension and lengthening. Sort of like toffee. You're pulling it apart. There's that smooth lengthening. Shift your weight forward now. Hands onto your knee. Press your knee down and bring your palms together. So again, it's that importance of zigzagging, so the top of your right thigh bone is back, and allowing that lengthening. And still that growing of your torso. And then place your hands down. And again, as before, straighten your front leg, toes up, and torso long, and then take them over towards the right side of the mat. So give yourselves a little bit of a twist. Just sort of spreading the lengthening of your hip flexor, not just down the center of them, but wrapping around a little bit towards the outer hip, but at the same time, a little bit more lengthening of your torso. And then we're going to unwind, bend your front knee, and tuck your back toes under. Hands onto your knee. Palms together at heart center.
arms up. So when your arms are up, you can be opening a little bit towards a V, and you have the option of keeping your back knee down or lifting of it up. If your back leg is lifted up, fire it up so that your leg is long. There's not that dropping. Weight forward and torso away from your thigh, giving yourselves that length. Are you breathing? Full breath in. Complete breath out. All right, hands down, back knee down, and untuck your toes. And we'll go from here into lizard. So take your right foot to the outer edge of the mat. Again, peek back just to make sure all 5 of your toenails are down at the back. And whichever height you choose, directing of your knee out towards the side. And your familiarity with this pose and the slow lowering, not dropping, more, I'm going to say drifting down. And perhaps getting to one spot, and that's plenty. Or perhaps even with your breath, the filling of your body, perhaps lowering yourselves farther down, or not. Head is heavy, eyes are soft, body is open. Now draw your knee in. Place your hands on your firm block, and just as we did before, turn your right toes off the mat so it's into that V. Tuck your back toes under. Again, we're going to step to the front, almost like a bit of a duck. So your feet are forward, toes are off the mat. And then again, that lovely swaying side to side. And then walk your feet together so that they're hip distance apart. As we did before, knees are soft. Sweep your arms forward and up into chair pose. And then straightening of your arms, straightening of your legs, and lower down. So we're going to take ourselves to another option of balance. So as you can, even you can sometimes spread your toes apart. Close your eyes and just sort of find all 4 sides of your foot rooted down. And then take your arms either out to horizontal or more of an angle. Find a focus forward, either onto the floor, and slowly lift your knee up. So if your ankle starts to wobble and you come down, that's okay. Take it from the foundation of your foot down, lift your knee, place your hands behind the back of your thigh, and see if you can extend your leg forward. So sort of bringing that, I'm going to say, calmness and stillness through your ankle. And just be aware of that connection. See if you can even move your ankle, your lifted right leg. See if you can move your ankle. Slow movement. And then bend your knee and lower it down. And wherever your right foot lands, keep it right there. Spread the toes out. Even a little bit of shifting of your body to find that surface. Arms out, whichever height you lift them up. First, your foot hovers. So just a hovering, I'm going to say almost give a bit of power and yet calmness. And then lifting of your knee up. Perhaps interweaving your fingers behind the back of your thigh. Interweaving in a funny way. And then explore with extending. So really focusing on the balance, but everything is neutral. Maybe moving of your ankle. It's always your choice. If there's a wall or a chair nearby, that could be a little bit handy. But just see if you can bring that stillness through your ankle without the locking of your knee. And then bend your knee. Lower down. Give yourselves a little shake, shake. So have your firm blocks on vertical at the front of the mat. We're going to go back into Warrior 2 and then down into Pyramid. So it's nice to have that. So again, you just start by stepping your left foot back for Warrior 1. So you have that alignment is your back toe front corner. And then just bending and straightening your front knee. And make sure that your knee is not past your ankle. Take it back to that verticalness. Squaring your hips, and again, make sure your back heel is down. And then sweep your arms up to the sky. Giving yourselves the opportunity to lengthening of your body. And then take your arms up to the side so that they're horizontal. So pressing all four sides of your front foot down, I want you to take your arms forward and cross your right hand underneath your left and give yourselves a hug. So that continue lifting your torso, and you can stay into hug or maybe the back of your hands together or the binding. So giving more space to the back of your body, yet just as much lifting of the front of your body. Make sure your shoulders aren't lifting up. Keep the bottom tips of your shoulder blades descending down. Open your arms out now and take them behind your back and see if you can hold on to opposite elbows. Or if they don't quite reach together, you can interweave your fingers but have your thumbs onto your sacrum and straighten your front leg. We're going to go down into pyramid. So slowly keeping the front of your body long and extended, and softly hinge yourselves forward and down. So you're focusing on balance, ensuring that the ball of your front foot as well as your heel are down, and even all four sides of your back heel are down. And then whenever you're ready, when it feels time, you can place your hands down onto your firm blocks, whichever height. And consciously, you can use your thumb, if your hands are under your block, by your thumb tucking your right hip back to giving that neutral squaring. And see if you can flare your right toes far apart. Head to hang, give it a little shake. See if the back of your hamstrings are a little bit longer this time. Now, if not already, take your firm blocks into vertical, and we're going to go into warrior three. So first thing to do is bend your front knee and move around so you can find that full connection of the sole of your front foot with your firm blocks. Take a little walk forward and lift your back leg up. And just notice as you look down the stillness of your right ankle, and peek back to make sure your toes are down. So your front leg isn't locked straight, there's a little bit of a bending. And see if your fingers can just softly touch the top of those firm blocks. And see if you can consciously bring your standing ankle to stillness. Lifted back leg is strong. And then if not already, place your hands on the firm block and slowly lower your left leg down. What I want you to do now is your feet are hip distance apart. I want you to generously bend your right knee but keep your left leg straight and your head to hang. Just give a little bit more lengthening right across or the whole back of your buttocks. By having the ease and the bending of your left leg, it's a bit more direction. And your head can hang. Give it a little shake, shake. And then we'll just change sides. So straightening, bending of your right knee, keeping the straightness of your left. And just notice that one hip flexor was a little bit tighter than the other. And then both legs straight. Give your knees a little bend. And as we're folded forward, just step your opposite leg back to warrior one. So just as before. So directing so that your front knee is bent, hips are neutral. Place your hands actually onto your hips to draw your torso away from your thigh and ensure that it's squared. So your knee is directly towards your front heel, your back leg is strong, heel down, and sweep your arms up to the sky. And take your arms now out to the side, and we're going to cross opposite. So taking your arms forward, this time your left arm underneath your right. Start with a hug. So your fingers can softly draw your shoulder blades apart. And then you can stay into hug, back of your hands together, or bind it, round it. And that lengthening. Whichever way you are, lifting. So your elbows will lift up a little bit more to give you that lengthening and extending. And see if you can have more space. Lifting of your belly button up towards your heart. Get the opposite motion of your shoulder blades back and down. And are you breathing? Sometimes there's, of course, as you know, the balance. You can look either towards the right or the left, maybe between your ankles or between your wrists. Now, arms out to the side. Straighten your front leg and take your hands behind your back. So you can hold on to opposite elbow as you did before, or interweaving your fingers. If you interweave them the opposite way. And then folding forward, the crown of your head forward, past the front of the mat, and taking of yourselves down, whichever variation. And eventually, as it feels right, place your hands down onto your firm blocks. And again, whichever height. It's the zigzagging, the top of your right thigh bone forward, top of your left thigh bone back. Your head to hang. Even peeking back to make sure you've got that full surface of your back foot down as with your front. So sometimes even very subtle or gentle bending of your front knee so that you can ensure that you have that connection of the ball of your front foot as well as your heel. So sometimes if your leg is straight, there's locking, it's more on towards your heel without that connection of the sole of your foot. And then let's fly into warrior three. So slowly bend your front knee, pick your back heel up, take a little step forward. Now keep your hands in the firm blocks and lifting of your right leg up. So it's strong and powered, looking towards your ankle. And then maybe go into your fingertips. And there's that wiggling of the ankles. See if you can consciously spread the surface of your foot down. Knee slightly bent. That lifted leg is as powered up as your standing leg. Belly button towards your spine, so ensure that your belly isn't dropping. You've got that lengthening of the front and the back of your spine. Your hands lifted to whichever height, or sometimes it's a little bit of lifting and lowering to find that balance. And then as you're ready, you just lower your right leg down. Okay. And then the bending of your right knee, keeping your left leg straight, head to hang. And just take that extension, stretch a little bit deeper. And then we'll just change sides. So straighten your one leg, bend your opposite. And again, just notice the power of those muscles you had been from standing are now at ease. And then I want you to take yourselves right back down into child's pose. So slowly walking your feet back, untucking of your toes. And this time into child's pose. Your arms are forward. I want you to bring your palms together. So all four sides of your palms are together. And then walk your elbows forward. And so as your head lowers down, take your thumbs to your upper spine. Almost as if your thumbs could reach between your shoulder blades. And then walk your elbows a little farther forward, just to give that lengthening, the back of your upper arms. Head is heavy. If it's easier, you can have your elbows actually onto the firm blocks. If your heels don't reach, or your sitting bones don't reach as close to your heels, then sometimes having your elbows onto a firm block gives you that a little bit more length and a little bit more space between with the bending of your knees. And then I'll get you to bring yourselves out of child's pose. And then just take your weight over towards the side. So we're going to go into deer pose. So if you have a blanket or a cushion, have it onto the right side of your mat. And you can sit onto that. Now just an option, if going into pigeon pose is of more comfort, then you can always go into that. So into deer pose, your right shin parallel with the front short end of the mat, You can have your firm blocks for support. So you've got that equal space. So the lengthening of your one bent thigh, that equal space between your elbow. Now, if there's discomfort, you can bring your knee a little farther forward. If you're feeling that discomfort with your hip flexor. And then all you're going to do is just softly fold over towards the front of your mat. Again, it can be at an angle. You can be a little bit more off your mat towards the right or directly forward, firm blocks, whichever height. And just enjoy the deer pose. So you're creating that zigzag of your legs, or as I said, if you prefer a pigeon pose, you can go into that. And then your head just to hang. So the firm blocks can be whichever height. And opposed to diving down into this pose to all of a sudden you feel tightness and discomfort, it's that slow lowering down. And with that slow lowering down with your breath, see on your exhales, even your sighs, that you can take that softness and ease, feeling between just a combination of your front inner thigh as well as your hip. And again, lowering to whichever height. And enjoy that there's no weight. The soles of your feet are free, not worrying about balancing at all. So you got that ease through your ankles, and then just feeding up to releasing through your calves, your thighs, your hips, even your upper body just melts forward. And very slowly bring yourselves up. And I want you to swing both of your feet forward to the front of the mat. And place your feet on the outer edge of the mat. And just very slowly putting that movement through the stillness of the hips. Really slowly. And then we'll change sides as you're ready. So again, going into deer pose or whichever variation you've done before. Giving a little bit of support, if you have it, underneath your left sitting bones. And this time, your left shin runs parallel with the front short end of the mat. Start by sitting tall, lengthening the torso, and then slowly and gently lowering down. Ensure you've got the folding forward without feeling the tightness and discomfort. If you do, then just come out a little bit and perhaps bringing your right knee a little farther forward, or having yourselves more folded forward off the mat towards the left. And down we go into deer or pigeon pose. Make sure your shoulders stay soft and your eyes still. Stillness of your eyes allows the holding into that stillness of the mind. Let's just slowly now draw yourselves up away from the mat. And as before, your feet forward, knees apart, and then just that slow movement. And then I'll get you lie down onto your back. So have your blanket, if you have one nearby, for Shavasana. You can have the firm blocks off to the side. And then if you have a strap, have your strap with you. And so first lying onto your back, just give yourselves a little bit of movement so you can ensure that you have all four sides, that back surface of your shoulder blades down, just as you'd had the soles of your feet down. So always working on neutral and center. And then I'll get you to place the strap under the ball of your right foot and then the straightening of your leg up. So the first focus on is ensuring that you have that equal lengthening of the front and the back of your legs. So it's growing up, just like plants growing up. And then keeping your knees straight, perhaps taking your toes a little farther back. But if there's quite a bending of the knee, I want you more working on the equal lengthening front and back. Even having the top of your thigh bone plugged into your hip socket. And even in doing so, walk your hands up the mat and then just slide back. And as you slide back, having that surface of your shoulder blades down. So not reaching, well, initially reaching and then sliding down and just finding that variation. And as you know, really caring for your lower back and your hips. You can keep your left knee bent, maybe lowering it part, maybe all the way down. Just ensure we're focusing more on stretching of the back of your lifted leg. So just find a balance. As your legs lifted up, not just all four surfaces of the back of your shoulder blades, but also the whole back of your spine, back of your hips, completely grounded. It's almost like that same balance of standing onto one foot. It's that same surface. It's just easier to balance and to lie onto the mat. And enjoy. We've already opened the hamstrings quite a bit. This is just a different variation of giving that lengthening. But even as you're doing so, see if you can keep your thigh bone at ease and more the growing of the back of your lifted leg. I'll get you to change sides. So just lift your left leg up. Nicely place it under the ball of your foot. And then lower your right leg down. So first ensuring you've got that neutralizing of the hip, back surface of your body, back of your ribs, hips, the growing, and then the reaching of your hands up, and the slow sliding down. Lifting, lengthening, extending, whichever variation in terms of the angle of your leg. I want you now to lift your right leg up so that they're both underneath the strap and open them up and towards a V. So you always have the option, if you don't have a strap, just having your hands behind the back of your legs or holding onto your outer thighs. And open them wide, a little bit of rocking side to side. It's nice to strap, keep the top of your thigh bone plugged in. Opportunity for a little bit more lengthening of your inner thighs. And then tighten the strap to bring your legs together. Bend your knees and hug them in to your chest. I'm looking to place your feet, keep your knees bent, but place your feet on the outer edge of your mat. I've done it a few times. And take your arms out to the side. A little bit of movement. So just very slowly draw both of your knees over, say, towards the left. And then slowly drifting back to center and over towards the right. So it's that slow movement, the internal, external rotation of your hips, just swaying slowly side to side, but really slow. So there's no rush. Lying on the back, relaxed. And the next time both of your knees are directed over towards the left, just going to stay in this position and whichever variation. So as your knees are over towards the left, make sure that, remember, that back surface of your shoulder blade stays grounded. You can always stack ankle to knee, but not to the point that you're feeling tightness. I want this to be completely passive. Natural gravity blends together the opening and the closing. But from your lower floating ribs, the whole back of your ribs, the back of your skull, nicely resting the whole surface onto your mat. And then let's shift back into movement. The juice in the joints. And then whenever you're ready, allow the settling towards the right. And just ensure that your breath stays slow. And slow movement, knees side to side. And then let's go into happy baby. So draw your knees to your chest, your elbows between your knees, and then your hands onto, as you know, your outer calves, your ankles, or your feet. Just a little bit of rocking side to side. And then standing in happy baby, take yourselves to stillness of center. Keep holding on to your right foot and just slowly lower your left leg down. So first your foot down, knee bent, and then exploring with lowering of your leg down. Now in doing so, allows a bit more ease of your knee towards the pit of your right, and even placing your hand onto your left hip flexor to ensure that it stays grounded down. And then we'll change sides. Take yourselves first into full happy baby. And then the slow keeping of your knee bent, taking your right foot down, knee in towards your armpit, and then your heel sliding away. So again, make sure that your lower back is nicely settled. Your hip flexors, we've already opened them lots. Just ensure that there's not that strain. So any of your poses with the holding and the stretching is to just slowly travel into it. And then travel yourselves back into the lovely happy baby. And I want you to now straighten your legs up. to vertical. So your hands could be on the back of your thighs if need be, or just resting by your side. It's almost like your feet are balancing on the ceiling above. So you have your heels directly above your knees above your heels. Make sure your toes aren't drawn too back. You're holding onto that verticalness. Full breath in. Breath out. And then bend your knees. Place your feet down. And walk your feet forward for Shavasana. So if you have a blanket, you can drape it over your body. If you have a pillow, you can place it underneath the back of your knees. Your arms rest by your side. And just ensure that your feet are near the outer edge of your mat. And actually place your hands onto your hip flexors and just slide them forward and back. Just make sure you have that ease. And then your hands rest by your side. The center of your back of your head down. And just a little adjustment to ensure that your chin hasn't been drawn in towards your chest. You have that length. Length all four sides of your neck. And then just that slow movement into Shavasana with the slow movement of your breath. Your body is still. Your eyes are still. Your mind is still. Stillness of the mind, and yet always aware. Your breath in and your breath out. As you draw your breath a little deeper and release a little more, a sense of surfacing and yet still settling. The slow movements of your toes and your fingers, opening, closing, rippling. And then draw a complete breath in. Breathe into every cell of your body, expanding all four sides of your waist. Your chest is floating, your back is settled. And a lovely sigh. And as you're ready, just slowly bending of your knees to roll over to lay onto your right side. Your head resting onto your upper arm. And the pressing down of your left hand to bring yourselves into sitting upright.
sitting upright with one shin in front of the other, or your legs extended and your hands settled onto your thighs. So again, growing as you sit tall, lifting the front and the back of your body. And then the connection of your palms together in that heart center, and that whole surface of your palms connected. My soul honors your soul. I honor the place and where the entire universe resides. I honor the light, love, truth, beauty, and peace within you, because it is always within me. And I share these things we have united. We are same and we are one. I wish you namaste.